Greetings, infidels. Today we're going to compare Sharia law with the U.S. Constitution. And at the end, there is a matching activity appropriate for infidel children ages 10 and up. Little housekeeping. Like I said, this activity is appropriate for ages 10 and up. The matching activity should take around 10 to 15 minutes. You will need some note cards, and you may either print out the words or write them down with a marker. The goal of this activity is not to achieve perfection or make your kids legal scholars, but just to grasp the fact that the U.S. Constitution or Western law is not compatible with Sharia law. They cannot coexist together. Why do this? Well, our public school system is not teaching children, or our children, about the dangers of Sharia law. In fact, it's saying the opposite, that these things somehow can get along. They can't. They will encounter this concept at some time, and they may need to reassert their rights in the future, because in this country we do have them, and we're not giving them up. Muslims are starting to run for office with the stated goal of gaining power and then instituting Sharia law, even if they don't say it outright. That is what a lot of them are planning. Your children need to know what this is so they can vote against it or rise against it if need be. They also need to know that if Sharia law does become dominant, non-Muslims will see a major loss of their rights. It's happened throughout the centuries, and yes, it can happen here. Okay, some of our sources. This is just the best book I found. It's by Dr. Bill Warner. It's 50 pages. It's straight, it's simple, it's to the point, it doesn't mess around. And so this is the text I'm going to be using for this activity. It's about $10 on Amazon. Optional texts, you can read the Sirah Hadith and also the Quran. I didn't list it here, but that does take a lot of time. This will take you maybe an hour or two at most to get through. And the U.S. Constitution. There are free copies of the U.S. Constitution available at hillsdalecollege.com if you need one. Or you can always look it up on the internet. So what is Sharia law? Sharia law is the Islamic legal code. It was developed shortly after Muhammad conquered Medina. It was further expanded upon by his followers after they conquered Christian Syria by the Treaty of Umar. We'll go over that in just a second. You do need to know that not all Islamic countries follow Sharia law down to the letter. In fact, I don't think any of them do. Saudi Arabia gets pretty close, but even them these days, they're not down to the letter. This often results in political disagreement and oftentimes violence among Muslims. They fight each other because they say, well, you're not doing it right, or you're not doing it right. This erupts in violence throughout their countries. Again, Sharia law is not compatible with the U.S. Constitution. And the reason it's not compatible is because Sharia law doesn't see people as equal, okay? For example, an infidel is a second-class citizen, or dhimmi, okay? That basically means second-class citizen. A Muslim male is the highest form of human being, a Muslim female is second, and everyone else is different levels of subhuman, all right? In contrast, the U.S. Constitution says everyone's equal. Doesn't matter your religion, doesn't matter your race, doesn't matter your sex. You're equal, okay? In other words, Western or Constitution-based thought says all men are equal. Sharia law says men are not equal. You're going to see that in a second. Okay, just a little bit about the Treaty of Umar. So, what happens after Muhammad establishes his religion is, of course, he ends up dying actually in the Saudi Arabia area, but his followers and his generals expand the religion upward and outward, and one of the places they go is Christian Syria, and they conquer that place actually pretty easily in the, I think it's the 630s or so, shortly after Muhammad dies. So when they conquer Christian Syria, they come up with the Treaty of Umar that the Christians have to sign, and the source for this is page 31 of Dr. Bill Warner's Sharia Law for Non-Muslims. Basically, the Christian Syrians, they have to agree to not bear arms, so they couldn't have swords or any kind of way of defending themselves. Kitchen knives was, I think, about the most they could have. They could not convert Muslims to Christianity. They could not build new churches or even repair the old ones. They had to wear special clothing to identify them as Christians or Jews. So they had to wear like a symbol. Sound familiar? They could not celebrate their festivals publicly. So if you like Christmas, if you like Easter, you can forget about that under Sharia law. they had to give up their chairs to Muslims. Okay, so if you're sitting on a bus and you've got a seat and a Muslim comes on, wants your chair, you got to give it to him. They could not sell alcohol. They had to keep their gates open and give Muslims room and board for 3 days when demanded. And that is another point of contention. The U.S. Constitution says, no, you can't board soldiers in your homes. And they could not defend themselves legally in a Muslim court. Okay, they just were not given the same level of consideration as a Muslim was. So, here's another example of Sharia law. I don't know if you guys remember this movie, great little movie, 1992, Walt Disney. What happens is Princess Jasmine decides, I'm sick of being a princess and I want to see the world. So she leaves her palace. And unfortunately, her princess tutoring doesn't include economics. Not sure why, but she gets out there on the streets, doesn't know what money is, sees an apple, says, yeah, I'm going to eat it. And this guy says, all right, well, you stole from me, so I'm going to cut your hand off. This is part of the Sharia. Okay? Here's one source, here's another one. I'm not going to read them all. One's from the Quran. One is from the Hadith. Okay? This form of punishment is still practiced in Saudi Arabia, and it was practiced in some of the areas that were conquered by ISIS. So like Iraq, parts of Syria, places like that. And now we're here to our matching activity. And you can see an example of what I did for my kids. The main point to understand, if you don't get anything else, is Sharia law is not compatible with the U.S. Constitution. And it really has no place in Western society. Here are some of the main points that I chose for this activity. You can go through Dr. Warner's book and pick your own. But on one side, I have Sharia law. On the other, I have U.S. law. Okay? So, over here, it says the punishment for leaving Islam is death. And of course, in the U.S., you can be part of any religion you want or no religion at all. So you can start off in life as a Christian and later in life say, well, you know, I want to be a Buddhist. And nobody's going to bat an eye. Well, maybe your parents might. But there will be no punishment from the state for that. Okay? You have freedom to be part of any religion you want, or you can even be part of no religion. You can be an atheist if you want. Okay? Under Sharia law, there's one set of laws for non-Muslims and another set of laws for Muslims. I mentioned this already. And over here, all men are equal. If the Muslim steals, they're going to get punished the same way as the Christian over here that steals. Same way as the Hindu over here that stole something. Okay? You break a law, it's according to that law. It's not according to your religion. Taxes. Nobody likes paying taxes. But in the U.S., everyone pays the same tax based upon your income, property, job, wages, etc. So we have a complicated tax code. But when it comes right down to it, the Hindu working at McDonald's is going to pay the same tax as the Muslim working at McDonald's. You see what I mean? So if you're a cashier at McDonald's and you're making X amount of money, you're going to pay the same amount of tax as the guy over here who's also a cashier, making X amount of money that works a different shift as you. Okay? It's nothing to do with religion. It's not religion-based. Sharia law, it is. Okay? So, okay. Here's some more of the main points. There's been a lot of talk about homosexuality lately. In the U.S., we allow it. Not everyone agrees with it. Some of the religions say, look, I don't want to bake a cake, or I don't want to be part of a gay wedding, etc. But they're not going to go out and kill that person. Okay, they're just going to say, look, I decline. I don't want to participate. Sharia law, you try to get someone to bake your cake in a Muslim country that has Sharia law, not only will they decline, they could very well kill you. Okay? And that's just a fact. U.S. law, men and women can be judges and attorneys. Sharia law, only men can be judges and attorneys. Remember, women are below men in Sharia law. And we see that here again. A woman's testimony is worth half that of a man's in court. And a man's testimony in the U.S. or Western-based law is equal to a woman's testimony in court. Okay? So men and women are equal. Over here, Sharia law, non-Muslims may not own weapons. U.S. law, everyone has the right to bear arms. Okay? Jewish person can go down and buy an AK or a handgun to defend themselves, just like the Christian over here can, just like the Hindu can, just like the Buddhist can, just like the atheist can. Alright? Sharia law, not so. U.S. law, freedom of speech is a protected right. So we can make artwork, we can make fun of things, we can make comic strips, we can make films, we can write books. Freedom of speech is protected. Even speech that some people may not like. You come over here to Sharia law, that is very, very limited. You cannot criticize anything having to do with Islam or draw pictures of Muhammad. There was a case in Paris where, I don't think it was actually Paris, it was somewhere in France. It was a magazine called Charlie Hebdo, and they were drawing pictures and cartoons that had to deal with Muhammad. And of course, the Islamic community didn't like that. They went in and they shot those people. They even tried to do it here, but the thing about it is we shot back. Because you see, we have this, the right to bear arms. Okay? Alright, so here's the directions for the matching activity. Super simple, super easy. Just want to get a table, divide it into 2 sections with a piece of rope, ribbon, string, whatever. One side you want to put an American symbol. The other, you could put a symbol for Sharia law. I chose to use Dr. Warner's book because it's easy. You could draw a crescent moon or whatever you want to do. Once you have all your cards made, you scramble them up, and you have your child sort the cards into the correct sides. Activity takes about 2 to 5 minutes after you have everything made, of course. And of course, my disclaimer, this activity does not cover everything in Sharia law or in the U.S. Constitution. Okay? That is not the goal here. The goal is to just give them a taste and make them understand that the 2 systems are not compatible. This is an example of what the activity looks like upon completion. And then after you're done, have a discussion. Why are the 2 systems not compatible? Well, 2 systems aren't compatible because of the way each system sees man. One system says men are equal, the other says they're not. Okay? And then ask your child which system would they want to live under and why. And here are my sources. Again, if you want to keep things easy, just go with this book, Dr. Warner's Sharia Law for Non-Muslims. It's got everything really you need to know that's important. And the U.S. Constitution, you can get a free one at hillsdalecollege.com or at, what is the other site that does it? The Heritage Foundation will give you a free U.S. Constitution. If you're really inspired and really want to get into this stuff, you can read the Hadith, the Quran. Alright? But just know that that's a very lengthy endeavor. You could also watch Aladdin if you feel like it and have a discussion with your child. Thanks so much for listening, Infidels.